Hey yo YouTube, in my last session I left off where Jumper was telling Onyx Gar that we were gonna have to enter the place of no stars, also known as the Dark Forest, and we were gonna have to make camp and our troop was gonna have to stay behind. Um, we start this session where he more tells us, or tells Onyx Guard, that we're going to be entering something in the Dark Forest, and whenever we come back, it might not be the same way. So the that's why the troops kind of have to stay behind, and also if that happens, then his pack of wolves will lead the troops somewhere where they can meet up with us later. The DM kind of points out that Onyx Guard right now is the only one that knows this, so I go over and somewhat tell the party what's going on. Um, we make camp that night if we didn't already, which is kind of unclear to be honest with you. Uh, that night, Beck ends up pulling out Jack and Coke out of her magical bag. The next morning, the DM points out since we're in the forest of night, it's been night this whole time, and even when we wake up, it's still night. Uh, Rawrice player is here this week, so like whenever he sees it's still night, like he randomly yells at Onyx Car, like, "Hey, Onyxgar, did we go to sleep?" And it kind of threw me off, so like I kind of laughed when I answered him. So we just kind of out of character for Onyxgar, but I'm like, "Yeah," and then he asks, "Why is it still night?" Uh, the wolf jumper is right next to him, so he kind of explains we're in the forest of night, and we just passed the forest of dust. Rawright does start asking a few questions of what should we expect to see in the dark forest or on our way there. Um, I don't really remember what Jumper says. I know Onyxgar butts in and kind of says that it's a place where warriors that break the code go when they die. It's said to be a dark place, and the longer you're in there, the darker you become. Like Nina makes some comment to Onyxgar, like, "Well, how long have you been in there?" I guess she's saying it because he's black. Uh, And Oscar didn't like it. He says, "I've never been there. I'm an honorable warrior, Nina." Uh, to a point, you could tell that the player, like, because like the player said my actual name whenever they said something back, like it was me who got offended. So we set off to head to the dark forest. Whenever we get there, Jumper Jumper leaves us, and we go in on our own. Uh, Shortly after entering it, we end up running into Admiral. Um, Admiral, he pretty much says he'll lead us the way. Um, and then we like end up traveling for an hour and a half. While we're traveling, Admiral does mention that if it was just the cat characters, Onyx, Rawbright, Kotaku, um, we would just they would just mess with us mentally, like there will be anything physical. But since there's the dog has Nina and Beck, most likely it's gonna get physical. Like they're probably gonna try to attack us. So again, after about an hour and a half of travel, we end up hearing noises in the bushes, and we stop. Um, I want to say they start talking first, where they ask like, "Where are you going with two legs?" Stuff like that, or were you walking? They might even point out something about the dog heads. It's funny because like again, there's once in a blue moon where like Nina's player starts talking about we should try to negotiate. We shouldn't just try and jump into a fight like we usually do. Um, But again, like either they didn't, either they already forgot or they didn't really catch that. I just said this is a place for dishonored warriors. And the longer you're here, more evil and dark you're going to become. Uh, so yeah, Onyx Gar isn't talking nice back to him. I know I say something like move aside, Fox Hearts. We are on a mission to travel through these lands. They start going back and forth with us. Like I said, pretty much just reaffirming like why are we here. And then out of nowhere, Raw Rice player is like we're here to sacrifice the dogs. Panther Life thing. I was like, oh really? Well then just leave them here and be on your way. Um, Nina's player says that the dog heads look at him whenever he says that. The DM kind of says that we're speaking satire, so technically the dog heads can't understand him. Only Nina can, out of his players. So he kind of says Nina looks at him. Uh, Onyx Gar says something about being on a mission with Star Pride. They say Star Pride has no authority here. Um, I think once again I say like I'm on a mission to go through this place. They end up saying something about me being an oath breaker, and then I say I am no oath breaker, Foxheart. Now clear a path or I'll make a path. And the the thing in the forest says, well then make a path, and the DM says roll initiative. But it's funny because I've been kind of like there's two sayings I've been waiting for an opportunity to say them, and I'm sure I've had several of them, especially the second one. One is calling someone a fox heart, and the other one is calling someone mouse brain. And especially the second one, I'm sure I've had opportunities to say that, but I always forget. So we roll initiative. The mob ends up rolling a natural 20, and it ends up being like these tiger-sized like jaguar creatures that come out, and they surround us. Like they are all around us. Like I think it's funny because the whole time that I played Raw Right, I didn't get hit once, and then the player comes back, and immediately we're in a situation where no matter what, he's getting hit. So the battle starts, and like I said, we get surrounded. Onyx Scar and Kotaku are at the top of the group, and that side is having no problems because those are pretty much our main two power hitters. But it's down on the other side where Rawrite is and Apollo that are kind of having problems. And like in the middle of the fight, like Onyx Scar ends up saying, if you they say if you die in the dark forest, you disappear. I want to say Onyx Scar eventually drops one of the cat things, and the DM says just like Onyx Scar says, it disappears. Um, we go through a handful of rounds, and then eventually, about the third or fourth round, Rawrock ends up casting mirror image on himself, and he's at like ninth level, so it's automatically um, 8 mirror images of him, and and so they end up being all over the bottom part of the map, and it ends up really turning the tide of the fight because not only do they stop hitting Raw right, but they stop hitting Apollo too. So like two of them for like 2 rounds are not attacking no more. Eventually, because like Admiral is next to Onyx Scar, or a couple of squares away from Onyx Scar, so I start helping him out. Eventually, we clear out the mob. So Onyx Scar comes out of his rage, tells the party that it's kind of unknown what happens to them when they disappear. The theory is that they turn into nothing. Um, Jumper tells Onyx Scar that nothing turns into nothing, and he kind of asks were they pride or clan cats, and he says that there were Weimer cats, whatever that is. So as we keep traveling, like terrain becomes desolate. And Admiral tells us that um, time's going to go slower as we keep going because unlike usually where it's faster, because this time we're going deeper into the dreams, where usually we go up, we go higher. uh, Eventually, after some travel, he brings us to the older version of Armor Ready. Like when I first see Armor Ready, I tell her, Armor Ready, we see you again for the last time. And she tells us that this probably is going to be the last time, or at least in this way, because she tells us that we're about to pass the night that she's been dreaming, that she's been sleeping, and she's been dream walking this night to talk to us in the past, and now we're about to pass that day. She says maybe she'll go to sleep again and be able to communicate us again in that way, but for now, this is going to change. And she starts telling us about like uh, afterlife, that creature, like where we were just talking about creatures that turn into nothing, go. I believe the place is actually called the Nothing. Um, the way they described it to me sounded a lot like the supernatural afterlife for the angels. I kind of bring it up to the DM, and he says, "Yeah, this is slightly based after that." She tells us that only one of us will be able to go through the door. Um, like Nina's player says, like we said, they start looking around wondering who it is. I don't, because I played that. I already know who it is. I didn't. I was wrong. My second guess is right though. Uh, she ends up saying that it can't be the person who already has a connection. That so it has to be someone else. So that takes away Nina, which actually was my guess. Uh, so I end up saying back. Mostly because she's the other human. I don't see it being the dogs, and we've already kind of established she can't be the cats. Like, since this is our last time talking to her, we do get out any questions. I'll end up asking for like back to back before she even answers any of them. I ask, how many wemics do we have to bring to the doors to open it? Does she know anything about the tiger wemics? Does she know anything about the beast-like painting next to the painting of Admiral? And what exactly are we gonna get during the time of the alignment? So the first question, she says that we need at least one represented for every pride, to at least open the door. She says to actually make the kingdom, we'll probably need more than that. Uh, Says she really doesn't know anything about the beast or the tiger wemics. And then the last question, she says that it's gonna be two keys that you're gonna need to continue our journey. Um, she does make it clear that it's not actually keys. It's just something that we're going to need to proceed. And Nina takes up the opportunity to ask about the alignment again. And she ends up clarifying that, like we already said, it's the when we pass the night that she's been sleeping, dream walking, talking to us. So we travel on, or she leads us to like this door that that it's red and it's got like black oozing stuff coming out of it. So Beck moves forward to open the door, and as she does, Beck also says something about how she's gonna set the door on fire, and then Beck's gonna go through it, or I'm already says that. So as Beck ends up trying to go through the door, she ends up being surrounded by two creatures with shadowy, oily bodies. The DM tells us to roll initiative, and let's take a look at the map old school DSP style. So it ends up being two of these things surrounding her on each side. So Onyx Scar is like here. Um, Initiative. Onyx Scar ends up rolling a 20. The mob comes in second. The the tanks, Raw Rights last, and then the bugs. Um, so Onyx Scar starts there. I end up doing a 5-foot step and quick draw my glaive, so I'm able to fully attack this one. Uh, they start appearing next to people, like how this one's next to Ivan right there. Um, and again, same thing, where like all of us end up starting to get hit. Uh, Onyx Scar ends up like the next round, like he does. I want to say I was a square over, like I want to say I was here, but I end up moving up, or I might have been there. I'm not exactly sure, but I know I move up one to get close enough to hit him with my halberd because I have weapon specialization and stuff to hit this one again, finish him off, and then I cleave that one, eventually dropping him. After this first round, Onyx Scar never really gets hit, but like I said, everyone else is surrounded just like last time, and like almost the whole time, Beck is like right here fighting this one, I believe. Most of the time I couldn't see him though on my map. Like I had to ask the DM. I could see him now though. Must have had to get reset. Uh, Eventually, like I said, Honest Scar runs up, hits that one. Uh, after I want to say Beck kills that one, or after no, I think it's after this one, the one that Beck's been fighting drops. The two that were like down here with Nina up here with Beck. Eventually, we wear down the mob, and Beck gets to the door. I believe goes on fire, which I'm surprised it doesn't show that now. So I might be wrong about that. But Nina goes to the door, and also at one point, as you can see, you're all right. Did mirror image again. And when Beck gets to the door, the DM wraps it up, calls it a night. Um, Future predictions, like I kind of said, I kind of think whatever it is we're supposed to ally with is probably going to be a vampire or something, considering that's what the afterlife is. I won't be surprised if it's a place for undead or something like that. Already did say that whoever we're going to ally with is in other places will be an enemy. So, like, if we met in the real world, we would probably fight against them. But under these situations, we aren't. Um, I'm probably gonna start doing the other campaign in like the next day or so. So if you want to check that out, keep an eye out for it. If you want to know the whole story of this campaign, watch all the videos and check you later.